that's why Matt was asking about the MSRP shops. You know, if they sell it online, but at the cost that you want them to sell it for, because some people won't be able to find it locally yet. Are you going to still make it? Say like a big one on Twitter is Buckhead. You know, Buckhead Cigar. He sells things through Twitter.
Yeah, Atlanta, right?
Yeah. And Bonita Smoke Shop. You know.
Yeah. No. If it's to me, I think you have to use your best judgment. And if it's convenient to somebody that lives somewhere where they don't have access to the product, I don't have a problem with Buckhead Cigars selling something at full MSRP to make it convenient for the end user. What I have a problem with is a website selling something for $5 above wholesale cost just to move numbers and, make money. That's what I have a problem with. So, I mean, we're small enough, and we're going to continue to be small enough and grow slowly at a pace where we can control the growth, where we can look on an individual case-by-case basis and say, okay, we'll monitor the price there. If these guys sell it online, we'll monitor the price there. But I don't ever want to be so big that we're at the mercy of certain catalogs and internet sites. I've seen what could happen to a brand firsthand. I mean, I'm not just speculating. I'm telling you the truth of what happens. And I don't ever want to be put in that position. I don't want to be subject to, corporate P&Ls and 5-year plans and how are you going to get my shareholders this much money? And I've seen all that crap. I'm not interested.
Well, let's take another question from Sir Walt. He says, do you feel any pressure to fall in line with the current industry trends? And even though you don't prefer the ass kickers or the 60 ring gauge, will you make them to please the masses? Time's up.
No, time's up. I had to think. No, obviously you have to cater to what people want. This first brand that we have in development right now is going to be, a lot of it's based on kind of our vision and, what I saw when I thought would be interesting in my head and what we can convey out there. And, blend-wise, what I think people will enjoy. I guess we'll have to go from there. If I come out and we come out with a cigar and people are saying, no, I want this, I want that. But I don't see that being a problem or being an issue because I'm going to involve people out there in selecting this blend. It's not going to be John Huber's cigar. I never wanted it to be that. The only reason I'm doing this interview is because I guess by default I'm kind of the face of the company. But I'm no more important in this company than Nancy Eathman, Michael Treving, Mike Conder. It's a very collaborative unit, and we all chime in on a lot of different things. So I'm doing this, but don't get mistaken that it's my company, because it's not. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm excited to be a part of it. But when we started to come up with the whole concept of Crowned Heads, it was I said, let's base it more on, like a band. Because in a band, you have a lead singer who's visible. But you also, that lead singer is only as good as the bass line, the drum line, the lead guitar, keys, what have you. And ultimately it's the sound that collaborative team makes, that whether it's a hit record or not. And that's kind of what our concept at Crowned Heads has been. So, it's not just my taste and my choices. It's going to be a group effort within this office and also within test groups across the country and people like you guys that are going to tell me, okay, I like this, I don't like that. And, that's something that I'm open to exploring further. Sometimes, listen, everybody has I'm very opinionated about certain things, but I also have grown to be a little bit smart enough and patient enough over the years that I realize that I'm not the end-all, be-all, that we have to have different people chime in. And it's always, you come up with an idea, and it's always, when you run it up the flagpole and you get different people chiming in, what started out as an idea becomes something that's so much better as it's evolved when you have other people voice their opinions.
Right now, you said, like with the bigger, like with what Walt asked, are you actually testing any blends with the bigger ring gauges or anything else, or are you focusing more on those 5 that you were saying about?
I'm focusing on the 5 right now. And that's leaving room to say, okay, in the first or second quarter of the 2012, we want to come out with a line extension, and it's a 5x60 or 5x56 or 6x60 or a 7.5 by 40 or 38 Lancero, whatever. There's room to do that. But the first initial 5 sizes that I've kind of mapped out that we're signing up for are very traditional sizes. And the largest ring gauge would be 54 at this point. But that's not to say I wouldn't entertain a 60 if somebody wanted to do a 60. I just won't be smoking a lot of it in the office.
So you think, John, you'll have something released this year? It'll be this year.
And if you'd asked me that before the honeymoon, I would have said yes. Now coming back after the honeymoon and finding out what's going on in the last 2 weeks, I don't know. All I will say is that when everything is right, that's when the first brand will be released. I don't want to compromise ourselves on any of that. I mean, I'm a big believer in integrity, and I don't. That's the one thing like we argue about behind the scenes here constantly is, honesty and integrity. It's like, no, I will not compromise on that whatsoever. And if this is not up to our standards, up to our vision, I don't care if we have to release it in January of 2012 as opposed to November of 2011. That's the way it's going to be, and that's our philosophy. I mean, I'll give you a little backstory. If you look at our website and you look at About Us, there's like a philosophy kind of page or whatever. We literally spent like 2 weeks composing that. I mean, it sounds silly, but we believed that whatever we wrote and put in writing on that little philosophy page, everything we would do, whether it be a cigar, box label, a band, a T-shirt, a hat, a website, would have to line up with that philosophy. That's why it was so important to put that stake in the ground and say, this is what Crown Heads is about. And so now every decision we make, we go back to that and we look, okay, is it in line with the philosophy of the brand? And I think that's, even though at the time I was very impatient, I was like, man, it's taking us like 2 weeks to come up with a damn About Us page. Seriously? In retrospect, I'm very happy we did that because everything we do has to line up into that degree of expectation to us, so that when we deliver it to the marketplace, it's quality.
Now, would you, with that, what you were saying, like with your release and everything else, would you actually hold a release for like IPCPR, or will you just release it whenever you're ready?
No. Release it when we're ready. I don't. No offense to everybody else that supports. I support IPCPR. I do, and we'll be members and what have you. But for me, even if we had a cigar ready that would be released in July, I'm not going to go to Vegas and release it. The reason being, we're a little company, we're little guys, and I don't really envision us going to Las Vegas and putting up a little 10 by 10 pop up and being next to a guy that sells walking sticks and hookahs and being lost in the mix. That's not exciting to me. I'll release the product. We will release the product to the retailers that we believe will support the product when the time is right. I don't think you need a trade show in a 3.5 day window to release something new. I just don't. I think that concept is very passé, and I don't necessarily. I've been to a dozen IPCPR TDA shows. I don't believe you need to do that. I mean, maybe if you're brand new, I suppose, but I think we have a little bit of a track record that we can probably get some retailers behind us. So that's the way I envision it going forward.
Great. Well, anybody else have any more questions for John? We're just about at our hour mark. We don't like to...
That has a question, actually. You've mentioned Pete Johnson, Dion, and E.P. Carrillo. What is the best advice you've received from these industry leaders?
Take it away.
The best, you know what? Those guys don't give me advice. We hang out and we smoke cigars and drink and go out and eat and whatever. Nobody's going to give you advice. I think you just have to look at each person and be inspired by them. I look at Pete, and I remember, like it was yesterday. I think it was 2003 RTDA, and I think that was actually in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. Pete came up, and he's got literally 2 wooden, like unmarked boxes of cigars, unbanded or whatever. I said, what are you doing? Because before that, he'd been my friend from Grand Havana, Los Angeles. He said, this is my new brand. This is what I'm going to do, and it's called Tatuaje. And I smoked it, and I was like, holy God, this is the best cigar. It's fantastic. It was amazing, and I knew he was on his way. So I looked at Pete, and I'm like, man, he did everything just right. That to me is an inspiration. And the same can be said for Dion. He did the same thing, did it his own unique way. Some people didn't agree with certain things that he did, but so be it. And Ernesto, I mean, what can you say about Ernesto? He's iconic. You know, you just kind of look to that guy and just go, you know. So I hope someday I can carry his travel humidor or something. You know, I mean, nobody really behind the scenes gives you advice, and if they do give you advice, you know, I would kind of be, I would be cautious to follow it or whatever. We all do our own thing and follow our own direction, and but I do take inspiration and motivation from a lot of these guys that have done it and had the guts really to do it. You know, because it's not an easy thing to step out, you know, onto the edge of the cliff and say, okay, I'm going to jump, and whatever happens, happens. You know, people don't realize it's not that easy to commit to launching a brand. You know, and you're putting your heart and your soul out there, and you're hoping people enjoy it and agree with you. And when they don't agree with you, it's not an easy pill to swallow. Right. So I admire all of those people. You know, and you don't have to be Pete or Dion out of this. You know, for like Clint Aaron from 262. You know, I've recently become, you know, somewhat friendly with him, and I said, man, keep doing what you're doing. You know, believe in your dream, keep going for it, and you're gonna, you know, you'll hit it. And you just have to admire these people for having the guts and to do. You know, and to me, that's always been a big key of success in this culture. In that, you know, to me, what differentiates somebody that was a success story from somebody that, you know, is not a success story isn't necessarily your education or how much money you have or what family you're born into. It's just putting the blinders on and having the wherewithal to just say, I'm going to go for it, and whatever happens, happens, and I believe in my heart, I'm going to follow my dream. To me, that's inspiring, and I love that, whether you're in the cigar industry or, you know, whatever industry you're in. You know, that I find motivation, inspiration in that.
That's good. I guess the last question here kind of goes with that one, until we let you go here. Matt Maroney asked,